Hi everyone, Catherine here from Ink Fingered Cat, and I'm back with another Use Up a Magazine kit. I had a spare half an hour after I'd finished work, and I thought I'd do something easy, and then it turned out to be a bit complicated. I thought I'd do something easy because I'd use one of the Kendra's Card Challenge envelopes that I'd already got prepped, etc. from KCC19. So for those that have not watched any of my videos before, this series on Using Up the Magazine's been going on for a little while, and a little while ago I did Kendra's Card Challenge number 19 with some of the papers, and I've just been working through them a bit at a time, basically. So you can see the sketch off to the left hand side of what it's meant to be like. I ended up doing 2 cards for this video because I ended up finishing them a little bit quicker than I thought, but I will tell you this was not a going to plan kind of event. I think I was tired and I wasn't concentrating properly, and it just went a bit haywire. But you know, the cards in the end I quite like, but there's a lot of things with hindsight and a less tired brain I probably would have done differently. So let's start with, I decided I would use the fuchsia larger stamped image as my main focal point on that big square that's in the middle. I did then emboss the lilac cardstock. Now it's it's the Kingston Crafts cardstock, so it's got a white core to it, and I didn't get my pressure right on the embossing folder, and it's quite fierce, shall we say. So it does actually cut through the cardstock in a few places. I probably should have either sprayed the cardstock so it was a little bit damp so that the fibres would bend rather than break, or used less pressure. Probably less pressure would have been a safer option, but never mind. You learn sometimes. But basically, as I was then inking up the edges, a little bit of it just sort of started to come apart. And then it was a lot messier than I thought. So then I thought, right, well, I'll go over the embossing with some of the ink, and then I'll add some splatters. The other thing with hindsight I should have done was add those paper strips before I embossed, because I think they would have looked better if they were part of the embossing than laying on top of the embossing. But to be honest, those are small things that nobody else would notice. So glued it down, then I glued it onto the white panel, and then I ummed and ahed about whether I wanted to put an inked edge on this, and decided against it. But I did decide I needed to do something with that focal image, and I needed to colour it. I wasn't originally going to. I was just going to leave it as a monochrome kind of stamped in the Crushed Concord ink. So I'm using my Rich Raspberry and just some water on a paintbrush, picking up the ink and doing the painting in. Because the ink I've used to stamp it with is a dye-based ink, so Stampin' Up! Inks is dye-based, it is moving with the water a little bit, and that means that you get the blend of the pinky purple and the bluey purple of the two different kinds. And then I have sped this up quite a bit, so I don't paint this fast normally. I then also added in Tranquil Tide because I wanted sort of a blue-green ink for the leaves and the foliage elements. Right, I decided against any more in terms of inking, and then I ummed and ahed and decided, you know what, I'm going to make a standard size card. So all of the KCC designs are for American sized cards, but the UK sized A6 card is just slightly taller and slimmer. There's a shorter and fatter, if that makes any sense. So I did have to trim some off, and you'll see here it doesn't quite fit the card blank top to bottom, but that's good because it just left me a little space in order to add a ribbon at the top, and I quite liked that. So then I decided I needed a sentiment, so I went for the stamp set and went for the happy birthday sentiment, and just found some white scrap. And using my stamp wheel, I inked it up with the Crushed Concord ink, so I'm in keeping with the original stamping and all of the inking that I did. I did have to stamp it twice just to make sure it was a good inked impression, because that Crushed Concord ink is quite old. It's one of the oldest stamp pads I own. In fact, pretty sure I bought it secondhand. No, I didn't. No, I did buy that one myself. Yeah, I did buy that one myself. So stamped it up, trimmed it down to be relatively the same sort of spacing all the way around, inked up the edge of that, and then ummed and ahed about which side to add it on. Added it on the right. And then I found these really old gems in my stash. I'm in a bit of a bid to use up some old supplies at the moment, so I've got some old stash on the right hand side of my desk just so I could use it up. And I found some lilac gems. Perfect. And then I checked the time, decided I got enough time to make a second one of these cards. And this is the point where I clearly wasn't concentrating. What I should have done at that point was already trim it down to be the right size to sit on that cardstock. And then I should have really thought about what I was doing, looked at the actual card sketch and done it properly, because it should have been the two smaller pieces that I'm putting down now, they should have been at the edge, and then there should have been a piece of the pattern paper next to them, and then this piece of the plain colour, which I had not cut to size. Then I added the adhesive to it, so in the end I just ended up trimming it all down again and then adding that to another layer of cardstock. So it becomes quite a chunky sort of like topper. I mean, again, I don't mind the end result, it's fine. It's just, yeah, I was just getting a bit frustrated with myself. I don't think I was concentrating properly, but there you go. So the design also calls for these little tabs, two of which are pattern paper and then one that is plain cardstock. At this point, I'm just doing the paper tabs. And you'll also have noticed I did take things up, put things on and then take them off again because I wasn't laying things straight. Yeah, I think that's a sure sign that I was a bit tired. So now I'm choosing my sentiment, and this time I've gone for a completely different magazine kit sentiment that just says happy birthday. I just wanted a sentiment that went straight across, but I also wanted it to be a birthday card. I'm sort of a bit low on some birthday cards in some of my stash, which seems bizarre considering how many I make, but I've given a few away to charities, so that's the reason why I'm a bit low at the moment. So I am now going to trim that down. I did stamp that in Mossy Meadow. I just thought that that sort of like darker green would work well with the papers and the colours. I didn't want it to be black. I thought that was going to be wrong. I probably could have done it with a brown, maybe Earl Espresso or something, I don't know. So at this point I'm choosing a little strip of the cardstock that is the plain. It doesn't matter that it's longer because it's going to be hidden by that sentiment. And that is the top panel, kind of pretty much done. But then I'm umming and ahhing about that background. And because I've already stuck it down, daft, like I am, yeah, I was like trying to ink this stencil pattern. The stencil comes with the magazine kit, and I've not used it much so far in my cards. I was trying to avoid the peachy parts of it. As it is, doesn't matter because I end up trimming it down anyway. But I just wanted a little bit of pattern in the background. I'd ummed and ahed about whether I would do embossing, and I'd changed my mind and decided to just use the stenciling. But you'll see there, because I'm going to put it on that card blank that is the English sized A6, I did have to trim it down. Now I've just dug into my Hey Little Magpie embellishment kit overflow, shall we say, and chosen a little crocheted flower and leaf. I just thought that was a cute way of embellishing it. And I do really like these cards at the end. It's just the frustration of putting them together. It was quite a challenging experience for me, but I do like them in the end. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please do like, subscribe. Please go and follow the playlist of all of the cards made with the magazines. I now only have one of the KCC ones left, so then it'll be back to a free-for-all on what it is that I end up making. I don't know, may not do that one next time I grab this kit, who knows. As I said, please subscribe to see more. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.